When you hear the name Angela Davis, what comes to mind? Maybe you know a bit about her, or maybe you have absolutely no idea who she is. However, if you do know Angela Davis, or even just her iconic hairstyle, the symbolic afro, you will know that Davis is one of the most well-known political activists and educators on civil rights issues and multicultural feminism. In this presentation, you will get to uncover the vast history and legacy of Davis and how she became so important in the world of political and social reform. Some would describe Angela Davis as a radical African American educator and activist for civil rights and other social issues, or simply a militant Black activist. However, there are also those who would also call her a communist and a terrorist. So why would people use such contradictory terms to describe one person? Well, let's look back at Angela Davis's most well-known activities. Aside from being an American political activist, a professor, and an author, Davis was also involved in a prison case that resulted in her being placed on the FBI's most wanted list in a trial in 1970 to 1972. In addition, she is also a member of the Communist Party. So how could someone who had once been seen as an enemy to the country now be someone with whom many people consider as one of the greatest political and civil rights activists, and as an inspiration to look up to and follow? Well, everyone has a complicated backstory, and Davis is definitely not an exception. The oldest of 4 children, Angela Davis, was born on January 26, 1944, in Birmingham, Alabama. Her parents, 2 college-educated teachers, raised her and her siblings in a segregated neighborhood. It was here in this neighborhood where Davis experienced, at a young age, the cruel realities of racism. In her neighborhood, everyone endured several bombings by the Ku Klux Klan, which resulted in her neighborhood earning the nickname Dynamite Hill. In school, Davis attempted to create an interracial study group, and it had to be broken up by the police due to the overwhelming harassment that it encountered. Overall, Angela Davis faced many instances of racial prejudice and discrimination while growing up in Alabama. However, as she experienced the discrimination toward her skin color, Davis's grandmother instilled in her a strong sense of her history as African American, and Davis attended various civil rights activities and demonstrations with her activist mother, who was also a member of the NAACP. Together, Davis and her mother shared a passion for racial equality. Davis spent her childhood in Alabama up until she moved to New York City with her mother as a teenager in 1956. There, while her mother attended New York University to pursue a master's degree, Davis attended a progressive high school on scholarship, the Elizabeth Irwin High School. It was during this time in which Davis saw the potential of a more integrated society opposed to the segregated community that she grew up with. And it is here where she became acquainted with socialism and communism and joined a Marxist-Leninist group, a Communist Party. After high school, Davis attended Brandeis University on a scholarship in which she was one of 3 African Americans in her freshman year. During her junior year, Davis studied French literature in the Sorbonne in Paris. In her final year at Brandeis, Davis attended classes with German Marxist political philosopher Herbert Marcuse. In 1965, she graduated with magna cum laude in French literature, earning her bachelor's degree. However, due to her growing interest in philosophy after attending Marcuse classes, Davis pursued a graduate study in philosophy in Frankfurt, Germany, on a scholarship between 1965 to 1967. There, she delved into the philosophies of Karl Marx, George Hegel, and Immanuel Kant. While in Germany, she first lived with a German family until she moved with a group of other students into a loft of an old factory. One day, after she went to visit East Germany on the annually celebrated May Day celebration, Davis felt that the East German government was better at dealing with the residual effects of fascism than the West Germans. In addition, with her roommates being active in the radical Socialist German Student Union, the SDS, Davis was exposed to their ideals and joined in some of their actions. However, after Davis heard the news of the Birmingham church bombing that killed 4 girls whom she knew, her desire for political change intensified, and she returned to the United States. Back in the States, Davis continued her education as she followed Herbert Marcuse to the University of California, San Diego, where she earned her master's degree in 1968. She would later earn her doctorate in philosophy from the Humboldt University in East Berlin. Beginning in 1969, Davis became an acting assistant professor in the philosophy department at the University of California, Los Angeles. At that time, she was known as a radical feminist and activist, a member of the Communist Party USA, and associate of the Black Panther Party.
Angela Davis's upbringing and studies in school sound impressive, no? If you're not impressed, then that's a shame. But let's look through what exactly she's known for and the importance of it all. While attending UCSD, Davis participated in multiple civil rights organizations, like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the Black Panthers, and the Chillamumba Club, which is an all-black branch of the Communist Party. However, because of her affiliation with the Chillamumba, she was fired from the University of LA faculty, even though she was evaluated as an unbiased teacher. She was later reinstated in 1970 by a court order due to students protesting. Now, you'd probably agree that it's an understatement to say that Angela Davis was a committed civil rights activist. Although she was very passionate in invoking a change, the biggest reason that she is an icon is because of her support of the Soledad brothers and her criminal trial. The Soledad brothers were 3 black men accused of murdering a white prison guard in 1970 because another prison guard murdered other black prisoners in a prison fight. In response to their imprisonment, Davis openly defended the Soledad brothers and protested for their release in the public. However, due to death threats she received, she decided to buy guns for protection. Little did she know that those guns could be used against her. In that same year, one of the Soledad brothers used one of her guns in an attempted courtroom rescue, killing 1 judge and few others in this shootout. As a result, Davis tried hiding from the FBI, making it on their 10 most wanted list. Impressive, right? However, she was eventually imprisoned for 18 months. In response to her prison sentence, the public organized the big international Free Angela movement in protest of the criminal justice system and their abusive powers. Even John Lennon and the Rolling Stones wrote songs dedicated to Davis. In 1972, she was finally acquitted of all charges and soon after toured around the United States, speaking about prison reform, civil rights, and social justice. Due to her Communist Party affiliation, she was awarded the Lenin Peace Prize from the Soviet Union in 1979. A year later, she ran successfully as vice president for the Communist Party from 1980 to 1984. All the while trying to raise awareness for her party in the African American population. As one could obviously guess, her association with the Communist Party affected her career in teaching. Fortunately, she received tenure at the University of California at Santa Cruz in 1992, teaching the history of our consciousness. It is quite an understatement to say that Angela Davis is just an ordinary social justice leader. She left her own legacy and pursued her own interests, even in the face of national judgment and adversity. She even managed to amass communities together to protest for justice. It is clear that Davis made quite a legacy, but her work does not stop at her Communist Party activism and Soledad Brothers case. After teaching at UCSC, Angela Davis retired in 2008, then continuing to lecture at different universities, protests, and gatherings. Today, she discusses about the intersectionality of different social justice issues. After the Orange Cheeto was inaugurated as president, Davis was one of the featured speakers at the Women's March, encouraging everyone to continue fighting for women's rights, especially Black women's rights and feminism around the world. She even spoke at Charlottesville on March 2018, discussing the importance of reforming the systematic inequality in American society, emphasizing that diversity and women's rights cannot be fully achieved without properly organizing these reforms together, and that failure to recognize intersectionality of social injustices will only hinder this process. Of course, Angela Davis did more than just tour around the country and giving lectures. She also wrote many books, including Woman, Race, and Class in 1980, Woman, Culture, and Politics in 1989, Are Prisons Obsolete? In 2003, Abolition Democracy in 2005, and The Meaning of Freedom in 2012. Now, when you reflect on all that Angela Davis has done for social justice in general, many words can come to mind. The choice of words all depends on your beliefs, of course. Some people may call her too radical and crazy. Others may call her vision for reform too progressive. But this quote may be a true testament to her beliefs and who she has become. Radical simply means grasping things at the root.